Good morning, CRS. How we doing? Thank you all for braving the weather if you traveled locally, and if you're not from here, it occasionally snows, so hopefully that's cool. My name is Gemma. I am on the CRS Agenda Committee for what we call the Digital Music Summit. So this is our first panel of this wonderful day of programming. We're so excited to have you here, and please do join the rest of the programming as it goes on today. I have the very distinct honor of introducing the Streaming 101 panel. It's everything you want to know. So I'm very excited to bring up Mike Harris, Jenny Tay, Tim Foysett, and Cope Black Isaacson. Give them a round.
Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Brave in the crowd. Wow, this is pretty impressive. We all got here.
We made it.
It was a little dicey, but
By the way, I lost $50 because I bet against Cope. Sorry, Cope. I didn't think you were going to make it. I'm Mike Harris. I am the president and CEO of Universal Music Group Nashville. Thank you. Actually, I think that's the first time I said that. As you can imagine, my week's been a little shitty, but that's why I have my notes. So today is, of course, I'm on the wrong page. Today is Streaming 101. I'm going to read this because it's very eloquent. It's an evolution of informational streaming sessions in years past. The session aims to dive into the wider streaming industry by explaining business structures, premium tiers, debunking myths. That's what I love. I love the debunking myths part. Sharing best practices and heightening useful tools from modern music business. So our distinguished panelists, to my left is Cope Isaacson. Cope is YouTube's head of artist partnerships here in Nashville, and your phone's ringing. Next is Jenny Tay, artist relations from Amazon. I said to Jenny before, she could probably just detail her woes of traveling, getting here. Jenny, still has her jacket on. That's how she just literally ran in here. So, and Tim Foysett, obviously Spotify's head of partnerships for Nashville and Canada. I did not know you were in charge of Canada too.
I'm a man of mystery.
Can you
also
sing
from Vermont, so this is nothing. Right, this snow is nothing.
All right. So we're going to jump right into it. And you know what? I'm going to skip right to myths because that's what I want to get into. What these three don't know is in their coffee was truth serum, and there's electrodes on their seat. So if you lie, you're going to be shocked. So when Cope gets up, he'll have some burnt pants. No, I'm going to start right away. I'm going to just jump into some myths that were thrown to us, and we're trying to debunk them. So you just got to tell me what's true or false and just dive into them. Tim, I'm going to start with you, all right? Record labels have a certain number of spots on playlists, guaranteeing placements for songs. True or false?
That is false.
Which, by the way, when you were at Warner's, we swore there was Tim's 10. Every playlist had 10 spots for Tim. Is that true?
It's definitely not true. Sorry to dispel. No, we have at Spotify, and I'm assuming with these folks too, we have strong partnerships with majors and indies alike, and are happy to work with everybody equally. You know, the way our editorial ecosystems are built is that it's sort of like a pyramid, right? There's sort of starter playlists at the bottom that build up to sort of the bigger playlist. So there's no sort of assigned spots, right? What we're trying to do and what our editorial team is trying to do is find homes for everything. That could be, you know, sort of in those starter lists, and as they progress and as our users engage with those songs, they will grow throughout the playlist ecosystem. So there's no guarantees for anyone. Best song always wins.
Awesome. Good. Well, I'm going to dive into the next one. Actually, Jenny, I'll give this one to you. You have to have a record deal to get support from the DSPs. Is that true?
That is not true. Untrue. I think, you know, at Amazon Music, we work really closely with indie and major labels and distributors, but we also work with artists who aren't signed. I think this is a big part of why we launched our backend, which is Amazon Music for Artists, and that's so everyone who has delivered music to us, they can pitch their music to our entire programming team. So, yeah.
Can one of the three of you just jump into, explain some indie initiatives that you have going on at your DSP? Is there something you want to jump into, just explain what you have, like Fresh Finds or
Yeah, I'm sure we all have programs. I know for us, we have a program called Foundry that's specifically geared towards independent artists, and it ranges from built-in marketing opportunities across the platform to grants to help create content for some of these artists. So these programs are specifically for independent artists that don't have major label deals, that our team, primarily my team, the artist relations team, is going out into the market and looking for artists that we're really excited about that we can, work with their teams to apply for this program. And then there's a class that comes through every year. I'm sure you guys have something very similar to that.
Yeah, you mentioned Fresh Finds. That's also Spotify's area for independent artists. And, it's basically a showcase for those sort of emerging talents. And it's been really successful over the years, too. There are plenty of artists who are now household names that have come out of that program. Some of you who were an attendee of the conference last year on this stage may have heard Megan Maroney talk about Tennessee Orange and how that got its launch through the Fresh Finds program. That's a great example of something that sort of starts at the very bottom feeder level and then grows through our ecosystem to the cover of the Hot Country playlist and beyond. In addition to that, at our Spotify House event during CMA Fest every year, we've got a very successful sort of side stage on the roof of the venue that's for Fresh Finds artists only. Last year, it was packed. Could barely get up there myself.
I was just going to say that.
It's pretty incredible. There's, and that just speaks to the fact that there's so many artists who are breaking into this industry who deserve a shot and a voice.
I think last year Vincent Mason was up there, right?
It was wild.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was.
Oh, no, sorry. It was wild. I guess on the Amazon Music side, we have a program called Breakthrough, and it kind of lives within the service of Amazon Music. We have breakthrough playlists that are across all genres to really help elevate or shine a light on artists and their music that are just coming out in the indie space. I would then kind of think of it almost using your pyramid, analogy there. The middle of that is, once a song is really like raising its hand, we have other programs too that kind of elevate the artist, which is our Artist to Watch. We always launch that at the beginning of the year. One thing we did differently this year is we actually launched 9 Amazon Music Originals with these artists. So folks who are purely indie, we were able to partner with them where, we come in and cover the recording costs. We work with them on a whole marketing plan to launch it. A lot of them got Times Square out of home billboards and things like that, as well as a cover to one of our playlists. So, and then it goes into like our bigger breakthrough program for 6 artists that we choose within a year.
I'm sure you guys are like us. I mean, like finding new artists and like the independent, like that's probably what we're most passionate about. Like that's the most exciting part of the job. So we're constantly looking for those artists. I want to give a shout out to the artist that we have in Foundry right now is Cece, who is a truly independent artist in the country space that is like literally just launching it. For us, it was like getting to meet an artist like that at that level, doing it all DIY, but having such a vision for it that you see that, and it's so exciting to be able to run alongside them and provide them with a little bit more, firepower behind what they're doing. But I think that's probably the best part of the gig, honestly.
I was going to ask, can you give me another example of like one you're really, really proud of?
Dua Lipa came out of our Foundry program, which is not Nashville, but
No.
Super stoked on that one. But
Name dropper. Look at just dropping names. Dua Lipa.
we worked with Shabuzi super early on some of this stuff, and I mean, we're just constantly looking for the new artists that we can put in these programs. And then, I think you guys were talking about some of the ancillary things. There's also what comes with that is we're looking for opportunities to book them shows and get them private gigs and everything else that we can do to help them in their career. These are my favorite part of it.
Yeah, we're not always looking. God, I'm
You don't
loud
have to
be-
yell.
You just got shocked. That's why you said that.
We're not always looking at what label the song is coming from, right? We're looking for the songs that are performing well on the platform, and this is sort of a roundabout example, but you mentioned my work in Canada. So in Canada, our editorial team up there flagged an artist and a song that was doing really well from Canadian artist Cameron Whitcomb. And we sort of had to scramble around a little bit because no one had really pitched us Cam. We hadn't, he hadn't been on, we really didn't get any emails from him. We didn't really hear from anyone about him. We were just flagged from editorial that it was doing well and that they were going to continue to support it. So we had to sort of backtrack and figure out who the label was. But that's a good example of editorial not really looking at where it's coming from. Turns out it was from Atlantic, and I think we sort of gave them that push to, plan more marketing around his music, and it certainly started to grow, and he's an artist to watch for us. But I think that's a perfect example of like editorial not really paying attention or not really focusing on where the music is coming from a label standpoint.
That's probably a pretty good myth too. Like, we don't sit around waiting for things to come to us. Like, those are the best scenarios where we've actually, the amount of times I've had to hunt down a manager, found an artist that we're excited about, and then you have to like triangulate the manager and use the platforms and like DM them and be like, hey, here's my email, please reach out, this is pretty cool, we want to share with you some tools you could be using and things like that. We're very actively looking for that kind of opportunity.
Yeah, I would say same on the Amazon Music side. I mean, even tonight at our event, we have Nolene Hoffman, who's going to be performing, and she's also, still in the indie space, but, that is someone who definitely raised their hand on our side, and so, we're very excited for this year.
I think we work together well too. Like the different DSP platforms, we're obviously competitive and trying to find the next new artist that we can stake a flag in, but I think it's really exciting when we see another platform embrace an artist. A rising tide definitely lifts all ships, so I think that's interesting too.
Cool. I have a bunch of them if you want. Sorry, we'll talk about that later. Jenny, quick question. Do you need to personally know someone to get DSP support?
I wouldn't say so. I think that's not necessarily true. I mean, I think that's a big part of why we built our backend, Amazon Music for Artists. We want everyone to know about it. It's really your pathway to the whole Amazon Music team. Anyone who's delivered music to us, they're able to do all sorts of things, but I think that the biggest thing is get the music to our entire programming team. And I think, as much as we'd love to be able to see everyone, I think that's one of our benefits of having that program, or our tool in the back end. So everyone across on our team can know what's coming in.
Can you get a little into the pitch tools?
Sorry?
Can you each get into a little bit of your pitch tools for the artists?
Yeah. I mean, we have a similar one at YouTube, the Artist Pitch Tool, that's available for all our distributed partners and the major labels where they're putting things through our system that gets raises visibility for our editorial team for consideration. And for us, it's kind of not a check and balance, but that is like the official process. And then you have my team that's kind of out and about working directly with artists and managers. So it's some combination. Like, I always tell people there's no such thing as too many emails about a release. It's great when it's coming through the official pitch tool, through the distributed partners to our label relations team, and then I also like to get the email from managers, whether they're independent or they have a superstar that outlines all the releases, because we're going into the same meetings, and the more knowledge we have, the better. So we have both kind of as a strategy.
Yeah, labels, managers, artists, independent artists, if you do nothing else, the most important thing is to submit your music through these pitch tools. Spotify for Artists is ours at Spotify. Prior to joining Spotify, I worked for a label for 13 years. This is the single most important thing you can do to get the attention of an editor.
Good.
I mean, I was going to say, similar to all these folks, outside of also just getting music to us, on our Amazon Music for Artists tool, there's all these other features that we can dive into later if we want to, but I would say one thing that we launched recently that was very helpful, I think, for folks on the indie side is that you're actually able to create an account on Amazon.com. So if anyone also wants to look into merch opportunities, especially our merch on demand, that is something having your, Amazon Music for Artists access actually fast tracks you into that option. So if anyone has questions about that, let me know.
General question for the three of you. Does it help to meet the artist and hear it from them to tell their story? You can say no.
Well, I mean, that's part of what the pitch tool is for. I mean, there's the ability to write some context about the song, about the artist, about your story, about your marketing plan. I mean, those are ways to do that too. So yes, there are times where there's an artist that's potentially bubbling up that we've not met and we want to get some more information. So we do those meetings, but it's definitely not necessary to find success as part of that process. You can find plenty of success without doing that.
Yeah, there's artists that I enjoy the mystery on too that I don't know that much about, but I still like. Obviously, it helps to get the backstory, but that's kind of a lot of what our team does. Artist Partnerships Relations team is outside of taking in all the incoming pitches and things we get. We're out and about. We're going to shows, do a lot of meetings and lunches, and it's great to kind of understand an artist's vision, especially for us because we're such a visual platform. But getting a feel for the artist is important. But it's absolutely not necessary for opportunities on platform.
Yeah, and I would say on our back end, through our pitching tool, like there is a section where you can give context. You can also, say how the song relates mood-wise, or what genre, and all that information is, tells our system on how to deliver the music to the right fans and those things.
Country music is sort of this tradition of, taking the radio station out for the steak dinner. We don't need that, right?
But you do like a good meal, right?
Man, I'm vegan. I don't need the steak dinner. I've confused every label in town. We would rather be home spending time with your music. And I'm sure it works for all these guys too. We don't necessarily need to do that. It's about spending time with the music.
To be totally honest, when I go to shows, the main thing I do is walk around in the audience. It's less about hanging with artist X as much as it is like being out in the audience and seeing how people are reacting, the fans are reacting, because that's the biggest indication of how much we should be leaning in on a project. And so at this point in my career, that's kind of where I'm spending more of my time. I think for us in the push-pull, it's absolutely important to get to know an artist and have the accessibility when you need it. So when there's something that we're super excited about and we're wanting to go all in and we're ready to take it back to the larger global team and get them excited about a project, then we're reaching out to these teams and setting up the meetings so that we can get a really good vibe and we can speak for what we think the artist stands for and sell them into bigger opportunities. But that's probably where it becomes important. Love that.
Fair enough. You speak about plan. One of the myths is, does an artist must release songs every 4 to 6 weeks to be successful at DSPs? True or false?
I mean, I'd definitely say false for us, but with like the big caveat that my platform is very different than other platforms. And we have, this is a multi-format platform, so we have everything from short-form content to video content to social activation opportunities to obviously the music and the premium service. And so for us, there is a bit of an always-on. It's not a requirement by any means, but the algorithm that drives YouTube is very much fed by your activity, and whether that's just maintaining activity on a channel of interacting with other videos and fans, to your release cadence, or even it can be some combination of music videos and songs and short form content. That kind of all counts for us and is important to us because it's the experience of bringing the best experience for the fan on our platform. But again, we're a little bit different than you guys. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I would say for Amazon Music, not true. We just ask that any new music comes out to make sure you just pitch it in our backend and Amazon Music for Artists at least 1 to 2 weeks out. That just gives our programming team enough time to consider it for all the playlists and stations that they curate. Yeah,
no two plans really should be alike. labels, artists, managers, you know your fan base better than anyone here, and listen to your fans. Your fans will tell you when, you know, there's a demand for something new, or, you know, when you need a spark with a you know, another song, or if you're building to a bigger project. Your fans should dictate that. That's why it's so important too to sort of watch the data available to everyone via, you know, all the services, back-end apps. You know, so it's the other thing too, is you really shouldn't, you know, look and say, oh, that artist did that, I should copy it exactly, or they're putting something out every 4 weeks, I should do that too. Listen to your own fans, not someone else. You can look to them for guidance and inspiration, but listen to your fans. That's the most important thing.
But to that point, do you look at where an artist is at radio, or if this is a different track from radio, and try to balance it out? Is radio coming to that thought process when you're looking at what you're going to place on your playlist?
Yeah, I think everyone's gotten used to the fact that, you know, there can be one song climbing the charts at radio, and, you know, many other songs keeping your fan base active and excited on all of our platforms, while still supporting, you know, your focus single, you know, in sort of the bigger playlists and things like that. So, you know, I think everyone's used to the fact that there can be many songs out in the ecosystem. That's good for fans, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we're definitely, like, you know, following what's happening on platform. And it's a little combination of everything. I definitely like to see what's happening at radio. Most of the time, I'm like, oh, great, the song that we're excited about is working here and here. That's a really good sign. But yeah, there's no single indicator. I mean, we're definitely looking at our platform and what's working. If you have a song that's working at radio, and then they put out a video and it's, you know, on our trending charts globally, we're going to get behind that as well. One of the cool things about a platform like ours, all of ours, is that we have many places to support music. So there's there's different kinds of playlists where songs can be spread out, and we can lean in on multiple different kind of tracks at any given time. I also wanted to go back to the content thing. I don't want to get too much into strategy, but it's not meant to overwhelm. You know, for us, it's really an opportunity when we talk about, you know, this kind of always-on culture, which can be very hard for artists, but there's also a big opportunity, and that's really how fans consume this content. But there's ways, a big focus for us is finding ways to take one big piece of content, the music video, which is kind of the crown jewel of our platform, and what really turns fans into super fans, and then a lot of our tools are working with you to, like, how do you chop that up into short form content that actually drives consumption back to the music video? So it's not that you're having to do, you know, 5 shorts a day. It's you put out a music video, you take some of the best parts of that music video or a behind the scenes blog, you're sharing that as short form content onto your channels as other content to kind of keep the channel active and stoke the algorithm. But those videos have links that drive directly back to the music video, which drives people directly back to your page, where you could subscribe and become a fan of that artist and see merch and tour dates and all that kind of good stuff. So, you know, that whole flywheel of creation and consumption is what we're really trying to drive, and that's why we feel like Always On is a great opportunity.
Y'all make it sound so easy. It's like, oh, you just do this.
Well, and I was gonna say, I was like, I don't like to disappoint people, but, like, if you want a bad meeting with me, it's like asking what the silver bullet is for YouTube, because there is no one answer. You know, everybody's like, we sit down.
Guess I can scratch that question.
Yeah. I knew it. Everybody wants to sit down and grab a coffee and be like, okay, what do I need to do on YouTube? And it's like, dude, I can't tell you that, because every fan base is so different. Some artists do these 20-minute vlog videos that crush and have incredible engagement from fans, and some, you know, it's 30 seconds. And it really, you know, the disappointment is, I'm like, well, if you really want to hear, what I would recommend is, try some different strategies, try some behind the scenes, try some acoustic content and all these different kinds of videos, and then it all falls back into artist analytics, which is where people are like, oh no. It's like, yeah, you got to dig into the data and you got to see what's working, and if you really want to figure out your strategy, try some different things for 3 months and then refine it and switch it up. But using the analytics platforms that we all have, I'm sure yours is just as robust as ours, is literally incredible. I mean, if that is where you should be developing your strategy out of.
And find what you're good at. You know, not every artist is going to be able to talk for 20 minutes or host a live stream video or make, you know, creative short video content. If you're good at acoustic versions, do that. If you're good at talking for 20 minutes, do that. also, again, listen to your audience. They'll tell you what's working, right?
I love using this example. Maddie and Tay, shout out to them. They do incredible on our platform on YouTube. And one of their best performing pieces of content is them getting in front of outfits, dresses they've worn to past award shows. And like, you know, green screen, looking back at them and be like, I can't believe I wore that, or that was so uncomfortable, or that day was so hard and I was so nervous. And it absolutely crushed for them. Millions and millions of views and engagement, and drove a ton of subscribers for them. Really great content. I'm like, whenever somebody's like, what should I do? I'm like, if this works for Maddie and Tay, is this going to work for artist X? And most of the time, no. But it's just a good example of ways
That's
to
a
be
good
thinking
example.
about things. There's no specific strategy on any of these platforms, at least not ours, for sure.
Perfect. I was going to ask you the next question, Jenny. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. You must go viral to be considered for DSP support. True or false?
I would say
I love the go viral in my question. Whoever wrote that for me, like,
What
quote,
is
go
These
viral.
days, I know, right? I know I kept harping on our Amazon Music for Artists, but I think that was a big part of why we wanted to build that tool, was that all the music that's coming out can get to our team. So it doesn't, you know, everyone has their own path, kind of to what everyone's been saying on this stage, of, you know, how an artist grows, or even how a song grows, right? But I think on our side, the biggest thing is just making sure that we're aware that things are coming, which is why we built our back-end tool and why we ask, you know, for just a couple weeks head notice, so we can do what we can on our end to listen to the music and, you know, see where it can go on our side. And I think, you know, another thing that we've been talking a lot about, just like understanding your audience, you know, in Amazon Music for Artists, we also have our lovely friend Alexa. So there's a lot of things on the voice side. Like, we also share that data as well. So, you know, if you guys are seeing things on your side, on the artist side, on the voice side, let us know. I think that's, you know, use the data that you're seeing in Amazon Music for Artists to tell us, like, hey, we're seeing this too. Because a lot of our information is shared as close to real time as possible. So, yeah, any help that we can get there is always very helpful.
To that point, can you all touch on how does a song move through your ecosystem? Right, you get onto a feeder playlist, or how is there a time you're looking at it, and what are you looking at, or can you give me that a little bit of insight on that?
Sure, yeah, no, that's a great question. I would say, you know, if we're using something on the indie side, right, truly developing, it would start in our breakthrough playlists in that area. I think as the song or as the artist grows, more activity happens on the service. Our next kind of in line, let's say, if it started in country or breakthrough country, the next one would probably be fresh country. So if new music comes out, or if the song is raising its hand, maybe it would elevate to that playlist. And I think, you know, to graduate from there would probably be Country Heat, which is our top tier marquee playlist station that is global on Amazon Music. So that's kind of like our pathway on our side, on the country side. Anyone else?
Anybody else?
I mean, very similar kind of strategy as far as the programming opportunities go. You know, what goes into the playlist, we're watching very carefully, and there's a path to getting to the larger playlists based on performance and how well it's doing and how fans are engaging with it. But I think what's most important is like how you initially get on those playlists, and it's like going back to do things need to go viral? Nothing needs to go viral. I think some of our biggest bets are on, you know, artists that aren't going viral, that we just truly believe in, that we're excited about, and we see the reaction. And then, of course, we take into consideration things that are blowing up on platform and hitting trending charts and all that kind of thing. It's some combination of all that, but I think there's no one pathway even onto the playlist. Everything we're talking about is best practices. I think if you walk away from anything, it's, you know, again, no silver bullet. It's some combination of everything. It's some combination of our team's intuition, being out in market, or hearing about something that's going viral and looking at it and then going, I don't know if I know too much about this artist. I need to go see them in concert, and going out and seeing how the fans react, and then, you know, taking bets on things that we found ourselves, or that we just kind of believe in, and feeding those into the playlist system so that we can kind of watch and help amplify. I mean, we're rooting for everything. I always tell everybody that a win for me is when something in Nashville blows up, you know, and we're kind of on everybody's team. And so, you know, I don't know if that's the same for you guys, but the playlists are just another tool for us to kind of help amplify stuff. So,
Yeah, we're looking for fan demand. You know, if that's, you know, people, you know, listening to stuff on Spotify a bunch, if that's people engaging with TikTok or Instagram and then coming to our platform to listen, if that's people discovering a video on YouTube and then wanting to go down a rabbit hole on our platform, if it's someone discovering something through Shazam that they've heard on their radio station, you know, we're looking for those sort of fan demand moments. That doesn't need to be quote unquote viral. We just sort of need to see that fan activity. And by the way, viral for Dua Lipa or Morgan Wallen is a lot different than viral for a developing artist. Those should not be treated equally. So, you know, we're sort of looking for, you know, that sort of spark of fan engagement for the developing artist in the same way we are for artists at different stages of their career as well.
I mean, personally, that's why I love when you guys do these kind of panels, because sometimes people are like, oh, they work at the DSP, they're just looking at data. Like, no, they're really passionate fucking music fans. That's what it comes down to. So I just, you know, hearing it from your mouth and actually getting people to hear it really, I like that. So don't get into revenues because we probably can't touch on it. Can you talk about your business model? I mean, can you talk about, or do you want to just skip this question? We won't shock you. We'll skip that question.
Subscription service.
That wasn't my question, by the way. Someone put that in. Talk about your business
we could always
structure.
talk about it. You'll just get talking points. I don't know if that's so interesting. We could look it up
Yeah,
as well. I
right.
think it might be more interesting to dig into some of this stuff, but it's up to you.
All right, we'll skip it. You can't talk about revenues. It's not fun. Let's just go to general questions now. Can you talk about dedicated programs at each store, like Radar, Discover, Breakthrough, and success stories you had? We touched on success stories before, but let's talk about, you know, we could talk about Radar if you want. We have an artist there now, so you want to get into it? You don't have to that doesn't have to be the success story. You can pick another one.
Yeah, Radar is a developing artist program for us. Just recently, we worked with Tucker Wetmore on this program, and it's, you know, really an opportunity for Spotify to amplify and tell the story of an artist whose trajectory is going up. We had the great opportunity of shooting some content with Tucker back in Montana, where he went to school, in the exact spot where he broke his leg playing football and decided right then and there to pursue a music career. And it's a pretty special moment to capture on camera and really tells, you know, sort of the origin story of Tucker. And, you know, programs like that cross all genres for us and are really that sort of, you know, accelerator platform moment. And Tucker's a great one. You know, Cope, you talked about this too, sort of like country music finding success, you know, in other genres throughout our platform, and that's sort of a vehicle for us for that too. So it's great to see Tucker sort of like find some success outside of Nashville too. That's certainly a goal.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit. I mentioned Breakthrough already for Amazon Music, but I would say, you know, our breakthrough artists, the ones that we usually choose about 4 to 6 a year across all genres. That program really launched actually during the pandemic. I think our first one was with Gabby Barrett on the countryside. It was very unique. It was us leaning in and working with her for, I think, it was like 6 to 12 months on everything that Amazon Music and Amazon could do for her, especially during a very difficult time in the music industry, right? I think the following year was Breland. It was great to work with him. I think it was right around the time when he was just starting out. His new album hasn't even launched yet, and so it was, we were out of the pandemic by then. So one of the fun things that we were able to do was Amazon Music was live streaming the ACM Awards, and so having him kind of debut his announcement with us and also have a moment during the award show was something that we started that year. And then the following year, our breakthrough artist for last year, after that was Bailey Zimmerman, and then last year was also Nate Smith. So I think it's, it's being a breakthrough artist at Amazon Music is where, over a series of months, we really lean in and work with artist teams and find out, what that artist is working on specifically to kind of, almost provide, support wherever we can with what they're building. So it's, I'd say, one of our more like unique and almost bespoke opportunities that we can work with an artist with. But yeah, that's definitely a program that I'm very happy and proud to be a part of.
I mean, we have a lot of the same kind of programs. I already mentioned Foundry, which is our new artist program. And then Artists on the Rise is kind of the next level up, which you've had similar success stories. We've had Breland very early on and things like that. We have our big campaigns, like the breakthrough kind of opportunities that are reserved for like the superstars that are really global, massive campaigns. And then we're constantly doing things where we partner up with like Fritos on a sponsorship campaign that we did with Thomas Rhett, where we have an opportunity to partner with make the connection between a large brand sponsor and an artist, and then create a program around that. In this case, we had newer artists come in, like Breland and Megan Maroney, and cover Thomas Rhett songs, brought to you by Fritos, and then Thomas participates. And so we're constantly putting those kind of bespoke marketing opportunities together, and then programs constantly pop up throughout the year. I say that because we don't have anything specific to speak to right now, but we will as the year goes on. It's typically about products that we're really focused on, amplifying, like shorts or something like that. But yeah, that's constantly something for us. Yeah.
I love the brand sponsor. When you get the brands involved, I think that's a very cool idea.
Yeah. I mean, that's great. That's like, everybody wins. That's like the Venn diagram of good for everybody. And that's what we're constantly trying to hit. It's not easy to navigate that stuff, but it's definitely worth it at the end.
The other day I had Post Malone Oreos. I'm a purist of Oreos, so I was so anti, but I have to say they're pretty good. So I'd recommend them. Double stuffs, regular, and that's as far as I get. But forget about that. Is there best practices we haven't touched on that you guys like to speak about?
I mean, I'd be remiss to not say when I'm on a panel that playlisting should never be your marketing plan, right? Mm-hmm. You need to take, these services, all these services now, Spotify included, are built to give you access to all kinds of tools where you can be the director of your own success. So for Spotify, for example, there are plenty of tools available at your disposal to, reach your fans with new music. That's Marquee, that's Showcase, that's Discovery Mode. All those tools that are available to you in Spotify for Artists are ways to engage your fan base, get them excited about new music so that our editorial team can, again, see that sort of overwhelming fan demand and make an action on a playlist. What becomes difficult is sort of relying on a playlist ad to sort of fuel your success. The same for radio, right? You sort of need all kinds of other things going on in order to find success. You said silver bullet. There's no silver playlisting bullet for sure. Mm-hmm. So, a best practice certainly is to go to Spotify for Artists, look for those tools, and take advantage of them, and be strategic, and try things, and engage your audience. You're trying to build fans. You have to remember that, where you're not trying to, have the most streams you possibly can. You're trying to build a fan base, mm-hmm. and those are the ways to sort of take advantage and accomplish that.
You just have to get on New Music Friday, right?
Yeah, that's it. Right, that's it. It'll solve everything. Yeah, it'll solve everything. I mean, my favorite story of all time from my career is, I had a really big, when I was at Warner, I had a really big artist who was about to become a superstar, and they released a song that did not make it to New Music Friday, and I heard about it from the team and from them. And
is that why you left the labels? No.
you know, yeah, it's disappointing on that Friday, but 5 months later, that song was in today's top hits, the biggest playlist on Spotify globally. So, you know, that was sort of a blessing to me in that it sort of shows like New Music Friday is not everything, right? The engagement of the fans and the way they react to your music is what's really important, and they can drive success of that song to grow through the playlist ecosystem, potentially all the way to the biggest list.
Makes sense.
I'm constantly reminding people that we're not the gatekeepers for those opportunities, especially on a platform like mine. It's very DIY. What we are is like the sage that's trying to help you kind of navigate a platform like ours. So a lot of the best practices and tools are very DIY as well. It's like if you're putting out a music video or you have an album coming out, we'll meet with you and give you decks on decks of all kinds of opportunities that you could be engaging with on YouTube. An example would be Live Redirect, where if you have a music video that's about to premiere, you set it up, or a music video that you're about to deliver, you set it up as a premiere, and then you set it up as a live redirect where you go live with your fans for 10 to 15 minutes directly before the music video goes on. The idea is if you're driving your fans into the premiere, the second it goes live, it ports everybody, or I'm sorry, you drive them into your live and you're chatting about this music video, you're so excited it's coming out, and then the second the music video goes live, it ports everybody in. So if you have 100 people or if you have 10,000 people, or I've seen 100,000 people in a live redirect and it goes straight into the music video, that music video instantly says, wow, we have 10,000 viewers of this music video, the algorithm sucks it in and says this must be an important piece of content. And if you're like, oh, I love that, how do we do it? I'm like, great, here's the best practice on how to set it up. Like, this stuff's all available to you in YouTube Studio. What we're here to do is teach you about these opportunities so that you could be using them. So the artist that's truly successful on our platform, the artists and the teams, are the ones that lean in and engage on all these tools. If you say I have a music video coming out tomorrow, I go, great, here's a bunch of opportunities. Let's see how it does, and then we'll help advise you from there on a strategy of keeping momentum with that music video. But we're not the gatekeepers. We're here to help you navigate these platforms. It's kind of how we see it.
Right.
I know, I think we're talking a lot about fandom here. I will add like one best practice that I don't think I have mentioned. I think one unique thing about Amazon Music Services, we do have a lot of things on the voice side. So a lot of times I always tell folks, definitely try to build your followers on Amazon Music. Every artist follow actually gets a notification if you have an Echo device, that yellow ring that tells you your batteries have arrived, or your news update is here, or whatever it is, right? When an artist has new music coming out, they're part of that notification system. So they get notified on Echo devices, and also in the Amazon Music Unlimited app, they also get notifications too. And we've actually found that followers are 2 times more likely to listen to new music, if they're following the artist. So I think that's one piece of advice that I always tell folks, like, make sure you build your followers. You can do it in-app, but you could also do it by voice. We're like voice buddies. Anyways, by voice. So you can just ask Alexa, follow Tim Poisette, and when he ever comes out with a song, you'll be able to hear it. But yeah.
All right, loaded question. Besides me asking you annoying questions, is there one thing that you would like to see the industry stop doing or start doing? And you can just be very general. You can just pass the question.
Tim, you already used your line. The playlist is not your marketing strategy.
Sure, yeah, I think we kind of covered that. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that yesterday was Jenny Tay's birthday.
Thanks, Tim.
Is it really your birthday? I didn't know that. You traveled all this way on your birthday?
On her birthday.
I made it. Made it through the snow.
I wish you had like a GoPro on your head, because you texted us earlier, like your valet got stuck and you couldn't get your car and you got a ride from someone.
This has been a journey, and yeah, this is great. Yeah,
You still haven't taken your jacket off.
I know, it's okay. It's very cozy. I'm just going to be in this temperature all day. But
So there's nothing? Cope, you have anything?
Nothing is just an email that says, hey, I have a release coming out next Friday.
That's it.
What can you do for me? I don't want that email. I want to see what you've built around it. I'm not asking you to have like the craziest marketing plan ever, but show us that you're thinking about what your strategy is. Show us that you have a music video coming out 2 weeks from then, and this is kind of how you plan to share some short form content, because we're going to be watching that. We're looking for all those things. Again, my job is to go back to our larger global team and champion releases and say, this is something that we need to be focused on. The first thing they're going to say is, why? How much
Right.
are they using? Are they utilizing shorts? You know, what's the strategy? And the more ammo that I have to say, yeah, this artist is super engaged and DIY. I mean, that's why, you know, Latin music and hip hop, they crush on YouTube. They're not waiting around for permission to use all these tools and waiting for people to tell them how. They're just trying new things, and they're coming up with plans. Half the time we're chasing these releases because they've come up with this wild release strategy that they've shared with us for our visibility, and then, you know, we're like, wow, this is incredible. We're watching these and then
Right.
learning how to amplify them. So just to say, like, you know, hey, I got a release coming out, what playlist could it go in? Or, hey, I have a music video coming out. That's probably what I'd ask people not to do. Just provide us with, you know, something to work with.
Do you have an ideal lead time, all three? I mean, is there, you know, obviously it's as far out as possible, but is it like, hey, after this point, it's the point of no return? 6 weeks, 2 months?
I mean, honestly, like, I think 2 weeks is the point of no return, but the earlier the better.
Right.
You know, you're just giving our teams more time with the music, more time with your plan, more time to sort of understand what you're doing, more time to fall in love with your stuff. I just think, why would you not take advantage of that?
Right.
You know?
The point of no return is like, if we don't have enough time to pitch you for a billboard opportunity in LA because there's a turnaround on creating creative and things like that, or yeah, but lead time, there's nothing too early. I mean, my phone's full of demos of people like who send us stuff that are like, hey, this song's really cool, and it's like, I love that. I mean, we want as much time ahead as possible, and that helps us for planning, because typically, you know, when we have these global opportunities, like, they take a ton of lead time. And even the smaller programs, we talk about Foundry, CC's in our Foundry, but we're already talking about Foundry for next fall, and what artists are we excited about, and who are we watching now for that, because we'll help, you know, give them the tools and opportunities to shape them into some of these programs too. So there's no too far out for me, at least.
A good example of that, and actually I think you're the best example of this, Jenny, is the holidays. Yeah. We start thinking about Christmas like
Get earlier
now,
every year.
right? Yeah. So if you're planning a holiday release, like, tell us yesterday. You know, we want to know those things, because that plan is starting faster than you think. Yeah, faster every year.
Yep.
Never too early, for sure.
Cool.
Labels have figured that out. They do a great job. Those emails that are like, hey, here's all of our Christmas releases, and here's some like mood. I mean, that's super helpful for our
It
teams,
is,
and we
yeah.
pass those right along. You know, so we appreciate all that kind of info.
We have a few minutes. Do we have time for a question?
Should we do it? I think we should do it.
Yeah, let's do a couple quick questions if we can.
There's a lot of questions. There's so many to choose from. So thank you, everybody who did submit them. I'm going to have to combine some in the interest of time, but also this fabulous panel led this conversation to answer half of them. So love your work, guys. Woo! Okay, so I'm going to pick my favorite one in here, most relevant to the room. Should PDs be looking at streaming data, streaming charts? And part two of that question is, what determines position on a playlist? I know you'll probably be speaking on behalf of your editors there, so streaming data, should PDs pay attention to it? And secondly, does position on playlists matter?
Well, the playlist isn't a chart. It's not, you know, meant to be reflective of what's successful on a different platform. That's why, you know, the biggest country playlists across all of our services probably have different things and things in different positions. It's simply, you know, you have to think about it as, you know, at its most perfect, it's a reflection of what's successful on our platform at any given time, or, you know, what are the things that we want to sort of give that exposure to, you know, see if it's going to be successful. So, you know, it's rarely a one-to-one comparison of, you know, my song's top 10 at radio, it better be number 10 on Country Heat. I mean, it's just not going to always work that way. So that's the second part of that question. The first part of the question is yes. I mean, everyone should be, paying attention to your streaming data. All of these companies up here have incredible data that we're sharing with labels and artists. You guys have access to the most data you've ever had about your music. So take that data, share it with your promo team, who's hopefully sharing it with radio, and hopefully they're sort of understanding what those things mean. I think it's really important. Yeah.
I agree. I mean, look, data is hugely important, but data informs the answer. It doesn't make the answer question. So I think all three of you are a perfect example. You've taken shots in your careers, and you're probably responsible for some of the biggest artists in country music. So I'm sorry to jump in here, Jim. I just had to say that.
I love it. Cope.
I don't think we have time for another one, because if we go over, I get shocked. I'm sorry.
And I was going to say, I think it's symbiotic. I mean, I definitely watch all the radio charts. I said that earlier. I just think it's interesting. I think one of my favorite things to look at every week is the ads list of who's being added, because I think it's fascinating to see what artists radio is getting excited about. And I would imagine anybody from radio should be using platforms like ours, not necessarily for the single that you're driving, that you're getting behind, but what are the next songs that are bubbling up, and what does that look like for the artists? Because we, obviously there's so much data there, whether it's what music videos are exploding or songs on different playlists and things like that. I'm sure it's a big indicator for the overall artist picture. And I would hope that people at radio, and I would imagine a large percentage, we always joke that YouTube's the tip of the spear, and you hear about an artist for the first time and you go to YouTube and you get a visual image of what that artist looks and representation, and then you may go to a different platform to stream it, or you may go to YouTube Music, but I would imagine that that's how we can be a resource for radio, and radio is absolutely a resource for us as well.
Yeah, y'all who are here for the whole conference are really in for a treat, because there are several panels this week called Cycle of a Song, where you will see on stage folks from streaming, radio, press, management, labels, and it's a great storytelling opportunity of how all these things work together, and specifically how streaming is looking at radio, how radio is looking at streaming, and how labels and artists can take advantage of both of those to break artists and break hit songs.
That's coming up this
all
morning.
we're really trying to do.
Yep. All right, I think we're out of time, right, Jem?
Yes.
All
Thank
right.
you all so
Can't
much.
thank you
for your
guys
time.
enough. Yeah, thank you, Gemma, for hosting this. Great job.
Thank you.
Jenny, thank you so much, and happy birthday. We should probably sing happy birthday, but I can't sing. Thank you.